Today is going to be a controversial video because we are going to be talking about oil life. Do you trust the oil life monitor, or do you run off of the 5,000 mile rule? On our 22 F350, it's got the 7.3 liter Godzilla, and we ran off the oil life monitor this time around for this oil change. We do work the truck plowing snow. As you can see, we have the snow plow mount on the truck and salting and spreading salt. So pretty much max and a little bit beyond max gross vehicle weight rating that we're usually running, the full weight payload and everything. 1,000-pound plow on the front, 3,000 pounds of salt in the back, plus all the other equipment. Not hard to be over the numbers technically, but the truck did well. But nonetheless, running a truck in a extreme type of environment, we ended up getting 5,800 miles based off the oil life, and we pretty much ran it down to zero or within maybe a few percent of zero on the oil life monitor. And we're gonna pop into the office here and take a look at the results from this run. Now, here's my laptop. Hopefully it wants to power up. Okay. All right, let's see what this oil life monitor came up with. That would move. Sean, universal averages for this type of Ford engine are based on a 5,800 mile of oil use. This engine is new, so the extra metal and silicone in the first sample are from new parts wearing in and harmless sealers. It usually takes a few oil changes before everything is in the average range. So we'll just watch for nice progress as trends develop. Eventually, this engine should look like universal averages or better. There is some fuel present, but 0.5 is harmless. And from normal use like idling and short trips, the TBN is good at 2.3. So try going to 7,000 to 8,000 miles next time. So this is the first oil change. This is the factory fill, and our TBN is still good. Now, all the oil analysis that I've done on all the trucks that I've had, factory oil, synthetics, blends, never ran conventional, and most of us haven't because it's kind of hard to find an engine that even will run conventional oil if you think about it. Everything's at least minimum a synthetic blend. They've all been very similar though. They've always had TBN left. They've always had a little bit more life in them apparently. And Blackstone at least has always said you can go a little further, even with factory oil. And I've ran nothing but the oil life monitoring system. I've never just ran a 5,000 mile oil change. So with that comes the debate. Can you trust the 5,000 mile oil change? Now, it's kind of controversial because for me, I don't trust that particular rule of thumb. There has been so many times when, particularly with my diesel truck, with a lot of idling, where I've only gotten 3,000 miles out of a change. When I get real busy in the snow season, hauling and salting and plowing a whole lot, 20, 25 hours plus, whatever the truck's running, I've had it happen where I had a 3,000 mile oil change based on the oil life monitoring system. So could the 5,000 mile rule work for me in that situation with that particular truck? Not the case with this truck. Being a gasser, it seems like the oil life monitor is giving me a little bit longer service intervals compared to the diesel at least. Could the 5,000 mile rule be bad? It's a tough one. I don't think it would be because, as you can see with the Blackstone reports, we always have oil life left. We always have TBN left. They're always telling us that we could go a little bit further. So if I were to try to just go 5,000 miles, even in the worst situation, I don't know if it would necessarily be bad because it's hard to say unless I do it and test the oil. That's a significant increase in miles if you're only getting 3,000 based on the oil life monitor, and you say, forget the oil life monitor, let me just reset it and then send it for another 2,000 miles. I don't know. That's kind of a questionable situation, but tell me what you guys think. So for me, I've always just ran the oil life monitor. Now, let's take a quick look again inside the office here at what the oil life monitor is telling us. So this is just a website that I pulled up. It's titled Understanding Your Ford Intelligent Monitor, and take it for what you will. It is from yourmechanic.com. It's not from Ford, but I'm pretty sure you can find this information from Ford, and I'm pretty sure they probably got this information from Ford. So what does it say? It says how your Ford Intelligent Oil Life Monitor system works. The Ford IOLM system is not just a simple oil quality sensor, but a software-based algorithm-driven device that takes into account various operating conditions of the engine to determine when the oil needs changing. Certain driving habits can affect the life of the oil, as well as driving conditions such as temperature and driving terrain. Lighter or more moderate driving conditions and temperature will require less frequent oil changes and maintenance, while more severe driving conditions will require more frequent oil changes and maintenance. Read the table below to see how Ford's oil life monitoring system determines the oil life. So, looking at the table here, we can see that it is saying that light driving conditions, freeway driving, moderate outside temperature, city driving, no towing or heavy loads, no extended idling. That under these conditions, you can go 7,500 to 10,000 miles. Under moderate conditions, mountains or off-road driving, extended hot or cold driving cycles, moderate to heavy loads or frequent towing, extended engine idling, you can go 5,000 to 7,400 miles. Extreme conditions, frequent mountains or off-road driving, maximum loads and towing, frequent and extreme hot or cold driving conditions, extended engine idling, 3,000 to 4,900 miles. So for me, the way that I drive my trucks, I've never really gotten to the 7,500 to 10,000 mile oil using the oil life monitoring system. I've gotten the 5,000 to in this range, the moderate one, and I've gotten the extreme one. I've never been able to achieve the 10,000 mile one. And I know a lot of people have actually reached the 10,000 mile and run the oil life monitor, get the 10,000. Me personally, never really happening for my driving, at least with the heavy duty trucks. But my question for you guys is, for the people who could get 10,000 miles, should they avoid it, or should they just go ahead and get the 10,000 miles and, change the oil and trust this monitor? And for me, my consensus, or how I feel about that, is not every mile is created equally. If I tow maybe one of these trailers over here, this dump trailer, it weighs 5,000 pounds. Let's just take the truck out of it. Let's say I'm walking for 100 miles, or I'm going to tow, or I'm going to pull a little cart with a 300-pound guy. I'm going to walk with him. Well, that walk is going to be different based on what I'm pulling. I'm not going to be able to get as far for the same amount of energy, or for the same amount of wear and tear, if I'm carrying a 300-pound guy in a cart, or if I'm just walking with my own weight. So if I'm towing a trailer, I would imagine that those miles would be different. If I'm driving really fast at high rates of speed with a big truck traveling at 80 miles plus per hour, or am I going 55, 60, 65 trying to conserve fuel? Those type of things will affect the amount of wear and tear. So for me, being the guy that only gets 5,800 miles on an oil life cycle, doing what I'm doing and testing the oil and confirming that, yes, the oil is still in a decent enough range, and just changing the oil as I am with factory oil, I am still within that range. There's no reason why another type of a driver, another vehicle owner could have driven this truck. There's no highway miles really in this last oil life cycle, very few highway miles at least. There's no reason why a guy couldn't have just driven this vehicle with no load, with just highway driving, just getting it up, because you're on the highway, you're accumulating these miles very quickly with little wear, compared to just city driving where you're stopping and going and stopping and going and reaccelerating the vehicle, and the temperature may not actually get to an operating temperature hot enough to burn off contaminants like water and condensation that gets into the oil regardless. That type of situation would require more frequent oil changes compared to the highway guy who can just, don't get me wrong, highway driving is not easy on your truck necessarily, but it does accumulate more miles for less wear. So is it possible for a guy to have the same amount of abuse on the oil in 10,000 miles of travel, of distance? 100% possible. So for me, I'm not going to knock a 10,000 mile oil change under the right conditions. I think, for your own peace of mind, if you want to run those long oil change intervals, test your oil. Test your oil a couple times. You don't have to do it every time because it doesn't make sense. It costs like $40 to $50 to get an oil test on a truck. So it wouldn't make sense to constantly be analyzing your oil, but check it once and see what's happening. And if you can get 10,000 miles for your driving habits, then why not get that? Why not save the money? Why not maybe run if you're really worried about it, you could run a really good oil, an Amsoil, a Redline. I don't know. Check out Ford Boss Me for like the best oil. But you can run a really good oil just as a peace of mind. Or you could maybe knock 15 to 20% off of your oil life monitor and still have a peace of mind that you're not throwing away money. Because if you're going to do a 5,000 mile oil change and then turn around and have 50% left of life in your oil, should you change it early, or should you just do what's required and put that money in the bank and let it sit? Because of what's in maintenance. Maintenance on a truck is easily $100 for a gas truck. It's easily $250, maybe $250 for a diesel. Over the lifetime of the vehicle, you go ahead and just do whatever the manufacturer is recommending. And at the end of the day, for your life cycle of that motor or whatever, that vehicle is still running just the same. There's the same amount of wear and tear. The vehicle's worth the same amount of money at the end of the day, but you did half of the oil changes. And I don't know, it's a toughie. I mean, from what we're seeing on our oil life analysis on our truck, we're seeing that it's getting dark out there, starting to get ready to storm. We're seeing that running this oil life monitor was pretty much a legit thing. I mean, our oil report says that we only thing we have is just metals from the engine being new and totally normal, no damage, no problem. So nothing out of the ordinary, very little fuel. We have 0.5%, which that's pretty low. I mean, we're burning gasoline, right? 0.5% fuel. Not 5%, 0.5. So 0.5% of fuel for the type of abuse that I put this truck through. I'm going to go ahead and say that's pretty impressive. There's been times where this truck has been sitting on the bump stops. Plenty of times. I mean, towing the dump trailer, hauling the 1,000 on the front, hauling 3,000-4,000 in the back. So check out the channel. My name is Sean. This is DS Trucks. Check out the channel. For me, I know it's controversial. I know a lot of my friends and colleagues will disagree. They'll say, go ahead and only do 5,000 miles. For me, I think the oil life monitor is okay. I think it's not bad. I think maybe if you're really anal, maybe try to just cut it a little bit, cut it 20%, whatever. For me, I've just ran it down to zero. I'm busy. I got tons of expenses that I pay for, and I got to be, economical with these vehicles. So I do the oil life monitor, but ultimately it's up to you as the owner to make the ultimate decision. So a lot of guys are just going to run 5,000 miles, and I think it's going to be okay. Either way, I think it's going to be okay. But anyway, my name is Sean. This is DS Trucks. See you guys in the next one. Check out the channel for some of those extreme conditions that we've been putting this truck through, and hope to see you soon. Over and out.